working with inspiring leaders, contributing to growth are our people. People who demonstrate integrity, teaming, respect, and lead with courage. People like you and me. Will you wait for the future to happen, or will you take a lead in shaping it? To discuss this and more, we have today with us Shamadi, the Strategy and Transaction Leader at GDS. Hello Shama, thank you for joining us.
How are you?
Good, thank you so much, and I'm really excited to have you over here and listen to your story of growth at GDS. And I know you're one of the few leaders who have grown in a very short time from a manager to partner. Could you share more about your journey at GDS?
Thanks for the interesting question. It takes me back to the memory lane. So I joined GDS when GDS was close to about 300, possibly 350 people. SAT was all of 20 employees that we had at that point of time. And we've gone through many name changes as well as an organization, right? But what is interesting is we have gone through a change in the kind of services we deliver to our member firms. And equally and more so interestingly in the last few years, we've become a strategic asset to the firm. We almost deliver close to about 10 to 15% of the overall firm's hours, depending on which sub-service line we are talking about. And more so, it's a force to reckon with. We are talking about solutions, we are talking about clients, we are no longer talking just about a delivery location. We're talking of a location which can collaborate in all areas. For my own personal journey, I think I can't be more grateful. Maybe that's the word that I'll put in to have an organization like EY for a major part of my career. I spent close to about 16 years now. I complete 16 years in November of 23 that I will be with EY. When I started, I was just handling a small competency within strategy and transactions. We used to call it a TAS at that point of time. I was leading just transaction diligence. And over a period of time, I've kind of been part of the growth journey for SAT. And, I owe it a lot to my team, to the overall network, and a lot more to the mentors that I have, had the opportunity and I've been fortunate enough to be working throughout these careers. All in all, I can say it's been a wonderful journey for me, and I've enjoyed almost every bit of it.
That's really nice, Shama. So I would really like to understand what were those attributes of yours that actually helped you succeed in your journey?
All right, maybe I'm not the right person to exactly answer this, but let me try to kind of phrase it and structure it a bit. I think the first one, Meher, is openness, right? You should be open to adapt to new challenges, look at new ways of working. Because if you continue to just keep on doing the same thing, you don't jump onto the next escalator. And what is critical, especially for a firm like which is working with clients, enhancing the client value, we need to look at what could be the new set of services and solutions for our clients. So I think openness is one. I think adopting new technology is another way of working. So I'm sure you're aware, Strategy and Transactions GDS team is one of the forerunners in which we adapted technology in the way we work. And above all, I do attribute a lot of it to having people in the team who are smarter than you. So I think as leaders, it is very important for us to operate in a safe zone wherein we can hire people who are smarter than ourselves, and that is the most difficult part of it. But once you do that, once you cross that journey, that's where you make a stronger team, where you make a stronger working world.
I think that's an amazing answer. You're talking about openness and you're talking about how you really give opportunity to people who are smarter than you. And I think that's one area where people are really not very comfortable with. And only a leader who's so comfortable in her own skin and who's so confident about her own credibility and the knowledge she brings would be able to do that. So thank you so much for sharing that with us, Shama. So Shama, in your previous answer, you also talked about having a strong team. So if I may ask you, what are those 3 top things that you do to develop and support your team?
Interesting question again, Meher. One is give them enough space. That is very critical if you want to make a strong team. You have to give them space to be themselves, right? You don't want another version of yourself. You want somebody who can accelerate to what you have built. So that to me is one. Two is there are situations where you can let them fall, because till the time people don't understand from their own mistakes, they don't make a stronger individual. And three, there are situations when they will need you. Irrespective, you need to give them that support, take them to the next level, tell them it's okay, I'm there, and give them all the confidence. I have always compared, leading a team very similar to parenting. And, this morning I was talking to somebody and he asked me how do I handle difficult conversations. And I was like, if you compare it with having a conversation with your child, it's a very similar thing that you need to adopt. So that is how has been my life philosophy, and it works wonders for me. So
very, very interesting, Shama. And I think it's a very lovely analogy. Team, and you're equating it to your child, and I think, of course, the team is your family, and definitely. And what I also liked about what you said is, it's just not about empowerment, but also giving people the ability to fail early, to learn early, and then, of course, get that as a stepping stones to success. Thank you so much. So, Shama, I also know that you have been with SAT or Strategy and Transactions from its early days. So it would be nice if you could share with us how SAT in GDS has actually evolved.
Sure. Interestingly, we started with transaction diligence and modeling, which was very two small components essentially around spreading of Excel sheets, to where we have all the components of what strategy and transaction has today. Globally, we've got close to about 8 competencies that we work up across. And we have moved beyond the basic level of work to working across the entire transaction life cycle, as well as the entire pyramid of an organization. Today we have billable staff as well as a billable partner, and we work directly with clients as well, obviously along with the member folks, and then help clients solve the problems, right? Talking to C-suite level executives is something which I don't think 5 years back we could imagine. But today we are thinking of what are the transactional situations where we can help them, what are the pursuits we can work on, what are the big accounts we can help, and what are the proposals we go and jointly pitch. And I think that in itself gives a very satisfying and a very gratifying feeling of where we have come to. And as I mentioned earlier, GDS Strategy and Transactions team is looked upon as a strategic asset to the firm rather than one unit which is operating out of few countries. So I think that has helped. Another thing that is really interesting, Meher, is till about 3 years back we were only operating out of India. Mm-hmm. Now we have locations across all the key areas and one center for all EMEA, APAC as well as Americas that we have. So all in all, it's a good widespread team. We're close to about 3,700 employees today, growing, working with the ups and downs of the transactions market, which is the volatile that
That's lovely, and I've seen maybe it is a gradual growth, but I think you guys have really had a quantum leap in the way you started to the way you have now, really evolved, and the kind of the way you were saying, the length and breadth of offerings that you have, or to the fact that the kind of experience people working at the SAT are giving. So, Shama, what would be the growth opportunities at SAT currently?
I think we're going through a very interesting phase in our transactions environment globally. The transactions are not necessarily at their peak. Having said that, our clients are still looking at opportunities, what is a good value pick from a business standpoint, both for our private equity as well as our corporate clients. What we are looking at from a SAT standpoint is a journey from transactions to transformation. Look at collaborating under the watershed program with our consulting colleagues. There are a lot of interesting opportunities, especially with new technology coming our way, identifying opportunities from a GenAI or artificial intelligence in general standpoint. And I also would encourage a lot of our employees right now, they're going through the processes of understanding and learning across competencies. So we've recently launched a project called Project Spectrum, wherein we are cross-training people within SAT competencies. So all those are very interesting phenomena for us to get involved in transactions world right now, because there are moments where the deal market is really low, is the time you evolve with new service offerings. So quite an interesting times. I'm really hopeful next 12 to 18 months as we go through this market phase that we should evolve with some interesting set of opportunities.
So if I've understood you correctly, what you're right now giving your people these opportunities to create or evolve them into a complete whole stack strategy and transaction profession.
Exactly. I think as in good EY world, we say it's yours to build. So we have opportunities. It's for people to come up and then build their own careers.
So Shama, you just shared with us the kind of opportunities that are there at SAT. We have with us our audience, and I'm sure many of them are ready to take up a new challenge. You are ready for a career change. What would your advice be to them?
Interesting question, Meher. I always think there are stages in our career which act as a signpost that you're ready for a change. To me, the first signpost that I look out for, if you think you've been operating out of your muscle memory for more often than not of your time, that's the time you're ready for a change in your career or look after new challenges. If you think the skills that you have are getting obsolete, that is, new technology is coming in, new services are coming in, the client needs are changing, that's the time you change. But fundamental to me for adapting and looking forward for any new challenge is, one, you need to be honest to your own self. Are you up for that kind of a challenge, right? Because more often than not, I have seen people who would pick up a challenge because everybody else is doing it. This is not a me too kind of a phenomena. This is a phenomena of, am I personally ready for a change? And once you decide you're personally ready for a change, then be open to accept the ups and the downs of the change. More often than not, we pick up a change and then we say, no, we were better off earlier rather than now. But once you've accepted the change, go in it with full flow. Life has a big opportunity. It's a big canvas and you can make, different paintings on it. You don't need to stick with the same color as you.
Thank you, Shama. That was a great answer, a very candid and an authentic one. And I'm sure our audience will also appreciate with the honesty that you've given us that answer. And I'm sure everyone watching this video will agree that this was a very, very informative session. Thank you for taking time out from your busy schedule and spending the time with us.
Thank you, Meher. It's always a pleasure chatting with you. Take care.
Thank you.